What's up guys, it's Amelia. Welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be doing some real 5-minute crafts. So I'm sure many of you know that company called 5-Minute Crafts. They have videos on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, basically everywhere. And they're sometimes hacks or sometimes just crafts, but they're supposedly only supposed to take 5 minutes. Well, a lot of people have made videos on these crafts and they've proven that either the hacks don't work and or the crafts take more than 5 minutes to do, and it's ridiculous. There's no point in doing a craft that only takes 5 minutes if it's pointless and a stupid craft. So today we're going to be doing some crafts that are helpful, fun, useful, and actually only take 5 minutes. It might take a little bit more than 5 minutes if you're learning how to do it, but once you know how to do it, it'll take you 5 minutes. It'll be fun, it'll be useful, and you'll be able to say that you actually did a 5-minute craft for real. So let's get started on these crafts. The first craft we're going to do today is make a crocheted coaster. We're going to use a style called granny square. It's a very simple design. The only stitches that you need to know are chain, slip stitch, and double crochet. So those are all very simple. Don't worry, I will show you how to do it. So the first thing that you need is yarn, of course, and a crochet hook. I'm using the G hook. You're going to create a slip stitch to put onto your crochet hook. You take your yarn, wrap it around your 2 fingers, and then push the yarn up in between your fingers so that it goes through the loop. Then grab the tail and pull it tight. And then you can change the size of the loop by pulling on the tail. You can put your hook in, and you want the loop to be not too small, but have your hook still go around it. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is figuring out how to hold your yarn. I know a lot of people when they start crocheting are very confused as to how to keep the tension in the yarn, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Put your hook in the loop and pull it so that it is snug but there's still room. So holding your crocheting yarn is pretty much the most important step because it determines the tension, which determines how tight your stitches are and your string just doesn't go everywhere. So here's the way I do it. I hold the crochet hook with my pinky and my ring finger. My pinky is pinching the hook and guiding it. Then I take the yarn underneath of my middle finger. Then I hold right on the knot with my thumb and my middle finger, and my pointer finger guides the hook. So that's my right hand. What my left hand is going to do is your pointer finger is going to come under, and you're going to hold the knot with your thumb and middle finger if you're not holding it with your right hand. And then the pinky is holding the yarn down here to keep it tight. So even if I pull on this, it's not going anywhere because the knot's being held here and the yarn's being held here. So the next step is going to be something called a chain. All a chain is it's grabbing the yarn with the hook and pulling it through the loop, and that's one chain. And to start this project, you're gonna do 4 of those. Now once you're done with that, you're going to do a slip stitch into the first chain that you did to create a loop or a little bird's nest. So basically what you're gonna do is look at your chains, and you can see it looks kind of like a braid. So you're gonna wanna put the braid on the top, and you're gonna wanna put your hook underneath of the braid section, but over top of the string underneath. So that's what this will look like. So you've got the string underneath, and then it's under the braided section. So once you do that, you're then going to grab hold of your yarn and pull it through. Then you're also gonna pull it through the loop that's already on your hook. That was a little bit of a slip stitch. And now we have this little bird nest. It looks kind of like a mess, but if you turn it around, you can see it looks kind of like a little bird's nest. There's a little hole in the middle, and the hole in the middle is gonna be where we stitch. So the stitch we're gonna use is called a double crochet. So what you're gonna do is you're going to grab your yarn, then go through the middle of your bird's nest, grab your yarn again, pull it through. Now you should have 3 loops on your hook. Grab your yarn again and pull through all 3, and that's 1 stitch. So you're gonna do 3 of those, and that's gonna create one of the little sections of our granny square. So after you do those 3, you're gonna chain 2. So just like we did earlier, just grab your yarn, pull it through, 2 chains. Now we're gonna repeat that step where we do the 3 double crochet stitches into the hole, and then we're going to do 2 more chains. Next, we again repeat the 3 double crochets. Each one of these 2 chains is going to become the corner of the granny square. All right, that was the 3rd time that we did those 3 stitches. So now we do 2 chains again. And the last time, we're gonna do 3 more double crochet stitches, still in the middle of the little bird's nest. And then once you get to this, you're gonna wanna pull that string that was in the middle nice and tight. And then finally you do 2 more chains to create the last corner. And you're gonna attach those by slip stitching in one of the stitches at the top. So now you have the base for your little coaster. So it's gonna look like this, and as you can see, there's a little hole on each corner where we did those 2 chains. So I drew up this little diagram, and let me know if this makes sense at all, but I think it'll help with the imagery of what the granny square rows look like, but this is your first row. So this is the pattern that you're gonna follow for the entire thing. So next you're going to chain 2, and in that little hole of the corner where you had those 2 chains, that's where you're gonna put your next 3 stitches. Now after that, you're gonna create the corner by doing 2 chains, and then another 3 stitches, all in that corner. Okay, so as you can see, you've created the corner for the next layer. So now in between this corner and this corner, you're just gonna chain 1 stitch. Then you're gonna do the 3 stitches, 2 chains, 3 stitches on this side as well. And you're gonna repeat that all the way around, keeping 1 chain in between each corner. Once you finish your 4th corner, it's gonna look like this. And what you're gonna do is you're going to slip stitch into that original hole that you created by making the first 2 chains. So now you've done 2 rows. Now we're gonna do 2 more rows, and then our coaster will be done. On the 3rd row, you're gonna add another little clump of 3 stitches in this middle section, and it's just gonna be 3 stitches by itself. Connect it on either side with 1 chain to the next little clump. At the end of that 3rd row, you're just gonna join the last clump that you made with that little hole that was made by the original 2 chains that you did with a slip stitch. And then you have 1 more row just like this, and then all you have to do is weave in these straight ends with a needle, and then you will be done with your coaster. Make a couple of these granny squares and have a pair of really cute coasters, or you could go absolutely insane and make hundreds in an attempt to make a giant blanket. That's what I'm doing. Next, we're going to be making some DIY sugar scrub, which is so much fun for summer, and it will definitely only take 5 minutes. So you're only gonna need a bowl, a spoon, and then coconut oil and sugar. Open up your coconut oil, and it should be hardened because at room temperature it's usually hard. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna take a big scoop and you're going to put it in your bowl. So depending on how much you want to make, obviously you're going to be using more. You know what? We all need more exfoliation, so we're going to make a lot of this. So I'm going to do about 4 spoonfuls. So it looks kind of like butter. We're just going to put it in here, and we're going to put this in the microwave at intervals and just keep stirring it until it is completely melted. After your coconut oil is completely melted, we're going to add sugar until we get the consistency of a body scrub. What that means is you want it to not be wet. You want the sugar to, it takes a lot of sugar. You don't want it to be wet, but you don't want it to so dry that it doesn't stick together. So I'm just gonna take my sugar and I'm just gonna pour it into my bowl. A little bit at a time, and I'm going to stir it and then see the consistency that we come up with. So as I'm stirring it, as you can see, it's starting to get a texture that we want. And that's literally it. Now you are done and you have some handmade sugar scrub. And I use this to exfoliate my legs and my arms. And I usually do it while I'm in the shower so it doesn't get everywhere. But you can also use this really gently on your cheeks, and I guess you could use it anywhere you want, but just be really careful you don't scrub super hard because it could be irritating, because the sugar does act as an exfoliant. It dissolves in the water when you're showering, but if you scrub really hard, you can make your skin red and don't hurt yourself. So now all you have left to do is to put your sugar scrub in some decorative jars and put it in your bathroom. I think it looks really cute to have them on your vanity, but also if you're worried about having glass in your bathroom and dropping it while you're showering, put it in a plastic container or a plastic bag or something so that there won't be any problem with that. But I have these cute little bathroom jars. The last 5-minute craft that we're going to make today is DIY scrunchies. So I know scrunchies were really popular a while ago. They're still popular, but they're also just really cute and fun and easy to make, and people charge a lot for scrunchies, so why not just make them yourself? All you're gonna need for this project are hairbands, just plain hairbands, some fabric for your scrunchies. You're gonna need embroidery floss or thread of some kind, a needle, and scissors, and that's all you're gonna need. So I have some fabric left over from the t-shirt DIY I did a few weeks ago, and I'm just gonna use that because it's really nice and stretchy and it'll be easy to sew. Also, it's tie-dyed purple and that's adorable. The first step that we're going to do, cut our fabric. So for the scrunchie, you're gonna wanna be able to fold the fabric over. So this is pretty much a really good size here. The next step that I'm gonna do that you probably won't need to do if you're just using regular fabric, I'm gonna cut off this seam that was on the bottom of the t-shirt, but if you're not using an old t-shirt, you're not gonna need to do that. So the next step is actually putting our fabric on top of our hairband. So what you're gonna wanna do is find the right side of the fabric, fold it in half so that the right side is touching each other. So it's kind of hard to tell with this fabric, but this is the inside of the shirt. So the easiest way to start is just by putting the corner through the hairband and then touching the two corners together. And then you're just going to sew along this long side all the way down and just keep pulling it through the hairband so that it covers it. And if you have a sewing machine, you could totally use a sewing machine. If you don't, just sew it by hand. So my first attempt, I sewed it by hand and I ended up making the fabric of the scrunchie way too long. So I suggest stitching only about an inch away from the elastic with a sewing machine to get a better look. Depending on how big you want the actual scrunchie part, you're gonna need to sew closer to the elastic or farther away. After you're done sewing, you're going to cut off all this excess with your scissors. So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna turn it inside out. So basically you're just gonna slowly push the inside of the fabric to the outside, and it might take you a little while, but just keep working with it. When you're done turning it right side out, it should look like this. Now all we have to do is sew these two edges together. So it's easiest if you hand sew these edges together. How you're gonna sew this together is you're gonna come to one end and you're just gonna fold it back inside slightly. So now you're gonna take your yarn and your needle, and basically I'm just gonna come up in the seam and I'm gonna do something called a blind stitch. So I'm gonna make sure that the seam's lined up. So I'm gonna come up from one end, and then I'm just gonna come through the other side, pull it through, come through the first side. And this kind of knit fabric from a t-shirt is super easy to sew through, so that's why it's super good for making a scrunchie. And you're just gonna continue this all the way around, back and forth, and it's not gonna show your stitches. Once you've finished sewing up the end, all you have to do is kind of reposition your scrunchie and tie off your knot, and then you are done. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a lot of fun making these real 5-minute crafts. If you enjoy making crafts in 5 minutes or more time, because a lot of times crafts take a lot more than 5 minutes, but if you enjoy crafting, DIY, upcycling, and decorating, please subscribe to my channel. I upload videos every Wednesday at 11 a.m. and I will see you guys next Wednesday. Bye guys!